you may get the wrong message. The wrong message is think this learning for the self, which is intrinsic, which is very much related to your own character, not reducible to knowledge, to skills. The Confucians must advocate certain kind of individuality, almost like individualism. But that's not. The not is very easily linked to the idea of the self, learning for the sake of the self. But what is the self? First of all, the self is not an island. The self is a stream that flows. The self, as I define it, and right now most people accepted it, is a center of relationships. At the center, you cultivate your autonomy, your dignity, your independence. At the relationships, you cultivate your family relationships. You're part of the family, part of community, part of nature, and part of the world. These two ought to be integrated. So the difficulty in this particular area is many scholars, including some brilliant American philosophers, such as Richard Rorty, a good friend who passed away. He said, you really have to make a choice. Either you focus your attention on self-realization or social service. If you focus your attention on self-realization, forget about social service. You have to be egoistic. You have to take care of yourself. If you want to do social service, you spend so much time, you'll no longer be able to cultivate yourself. It's a choice, critical existential choice you have to make. And you know, most of the people now make what kind of choice? You have to get the right job, you have to get the resources, get the money, get the power, get the influence before you can serve. Otherwise you cannot. So you make it very clear what you want. But we know for sure that it's not absolutely no possibility that we can define ourselves as an isolated individual. Because every day we encounter all kinds of other people. Social relationships are absolutely critical. So, the Confucians ask you to expand your social relationships as you grow old. When you're very young, like 3, you're attached to your mother. Then gradually you recognize your father, your siblings, other people, your family members, then even beyond. This is a natural process of growth. And this is absolutely important for not only socialization, but for personal development. So one, last time I mentioned, I want to repeat it. One institution that features most prominently in the Confucian tradition is the family. Because you cannot escape the family. Okay, you may not have a family. You may have one parent. You may have 2 parents of the same sex. You may have all kinds of dysfunction family. No matter what, there is a process by which the primary care or caretakers become the object of your attention. Human beings, unlike all the other animals, the survivability on one's own is very, very limited. Human beings are totally vulnerable in that sense. Therefore, family is important. Some people have this misconception that the Confucians take family seriously because they romanticize the family. They have a naive view that family always gives you warmth. The family is always nice. Parents are very loving. And you're very respectful. The importance of filial piety, of loving care. That's totally wrong. The Confucians take absolutely seriously, realistically, what the family is. The assumption is if you don't have a family, or you have a very distorted family, or abusive family, you suffer. And the suffering is not only you, but the suffering is everybody. Why? Because it's a complex system. Gender differentiation, age differentiation, power, influence, status. All these are, even if there are only 5 people, It's so different, with so different primordial ties. You know, you cannot say, well, I try to be older than my father. No way out of it. You cannot change your gender and so forth. And you're being socialized. But that's wrong, often. You know, when a kid comes into being, the whole parent, the society around the baby also becomes socialized. Some of our graduate students just got married. Their whole lifestyle changed, centering around this kid. Oh, I'm sorry, I cannot show up Wednesday because I have to take care of the kid. And I'm sorry, I have to cancel this appointment because my kid is sick. So we are being socialized, right? By the kids, we try to socialize them. We try to teach them how to learn, but at the same time, we adjust ourselves. So each member of the family, the father, mother, kid, everybody will have to contribute. And yet, anyone who refuses to contribute disrupts the family's harmony. There's no way you can have a harmonious family if the father is abusive, or the mother is totally irresponsible, or the kid is totally naughty. You don't have it. So if the family is all right, everybody benefits from it. If the family is in trouble, everybody suffers. That's why it's important to take care of the family. Why filial piety? The parents' love for their children, it's totally natural. You don't have to ask the mother, you know, to feel any obligations. But children's response to that loving care is not natural. It's cultivation. It's discipline. That's why discipline is so important. You don't allow the children to become totally egocentric, because that's bad for them, that's bad for society, that's certainly bad for the parents. So filial piety is not blind obedience. It's a reciprocal relationship. That's why the 5 relationships that are critical in the Confucian tradition: husband and wife, sibling relationship, parent-child, of course friendship, and also the relationship between ruler and minister. Out of the 5, 3 are related to the family. So the importance of the family is taken for granted. And the relationships, not in the idealized sense, in totally practical sense, ought to be reciprocal. Always two-way traffic. Husband and wife rule by the division of labor. We may not like the old division of labor, but we change it, but still division of labor is unavoidable. Parent and child is based upon the loving relationship. The parents ought to be caring, the children ought to be filial. The sibling relationship is based upon orderliness. Right now, of course, mostly because of the one-child policy, sibling relationships sometimes will have to be cultivated in schools, not necessarily in the family. Friendship based upon trust, and the ruler-minister relationship between is based upon rightness. If the ruler is caring or benevolent, the ministers will even regard the ruler as part of their body, like their limbs. If the ruler is indifferent, the ministers would also consider him as a stranger. If the ruler is very brutal, the ministers can organize themselves and try to say, no, we have to change your behavior. If the guy refuses to change, revolution, 革命, change the mandates, get rid of the guy. Sometimes by physical force, if the guy is truly uncontrollable. So reciprocal relationship is extremely important. In this sense, you are in the secular world, your body, your ethnicity, your gender, all these things are important for you to realize yourself. The family is a complex system, so the idea of learning to be human, you have to put emphasis on learning. That's the reason I characterize the Confucian tradition as a learning civilization. If you should read the Analects now. By now, you should have read the introduction of Houston Smith, and also my small book article on the web. And you should begin to read the Analects.